They're not lost, and they're not confused. These two Hasidic Orthodox rabbis have traveled across the country to lock themselves in this trailer. To understand why, we have to start at the beginning, before sunrise on a smoky autumn morning in eastern Washington. In the last moments before night gives way to morning, the local farmers are already hard at work, preparing for the arrival of the rabbis. These Orthodox visitors were here less than 8 weeks ago and are infamous in these parts for their attention to detail. The local work crew races to make sure everything is ready when their guests arrive. Earlier in the summer, the rabbis put in a large order for a special kosher grain to provide to the Jewish community during Passover, and have watched over every step of the process. Now they've returned to oversee as their bounty is cleaned, weighed, packaged, and shipped. First, they have to confirm that the seal which they placed at their last visit is still intact. Only after they're satisfied can they move on to inspecting the machinery in question.
So the wheat has been stored for about 2 months, not quite. So they're here now to ship it back to New York. So they have to have it cleaned. They have to get the holes out that the combine missed, and any foreign material that might be in the wheat. They want to get it out and bagged up and put on pallets to go in a dry van to New York.
In the smoky pre-dawn haze, the men systematically take apart the machine that will be cleaning the wheat, looking for any trace of contamination. Their inspection lasts nearly 90 minutes. Finally, they give permission to the work crew to begin the day's work.
Well, we put an auger in the bin, brings it out of the bin, dumps it into a hopper on the ground, then it elevates it into the mill, goes through a fan, goes through 3 sieves where it's sized, then it goes up and through the scale so we know how much we're running, and out into the bags.
The rabbis oversee every part of the process. These men aren't being meticulous for its own sake. There's a large community of faithful believers who are counting on them to source only the best kosher wheat for their Passover bread. If they slip up, they'll have to answer to the whole community. One of their most important jobs is to document how the wheat is handled, so they can prove to their constituents that it's truly kosher.
Yeah, because I must watch that everything is not like what I want to do. Nobody put water, nobody put anything, eat around that, drink around that.
When a pallet tote is filled, the rabbis seal it with a red tie inscribed in Hebrew. Any sign of interference with this seal would mean that the wheat could be tainted and would be unusable for making the Passover matzos. A single pallet tote holds 45 bushels of grain, about 2,700 pounds. Each one has to be moved by forklift to make room for more, and more, and more. By midday, 32 pallet totes have been filled and stand ready for their luxurious cross-country road trip. The first truck arrives, ready to be loaded. But first, it needs to be inspected. The rabbis climb in and insist that the door be closed behind them. In the complete darkness, they could see any holes letting in light and potentially water that could contaminate their grain. Once they're satisfied, the pallets of grain are loaded and sent along to the next stop in this wild journey.
For more information about Washington's wheat and the awesome farmers who grow it, visit wawwheat.org or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.